Hello, and welcome to Math Matters. I'm Miss Ott, and today we are going to explore the difference between length, volume, and mass. We will also use what we know to solve some problems involving liquid volume. For this lesson, you will need paper and a pencil. Go ahead and get those items now. In today's lesson, you will describe the attributes of length, volume, and mass, and identify the tools used to measure them. You will also use equivalencies to solve problems involving mass and volume. Let's get our brains warmed up by doing an activity from the website Estimation 180. On the screen, you see a 1/4 measuring cup with some candy corn inside of it. Estimate how many candy corn are in the 1/4 measuring cup. I can see that there are about 10 candy corns that I can count. I know there are some underneath and on the back of the measuring cup that I can't see. So I think anything less than 10 is an estimate that's too low. I think that 50 is too high of an estimate. So my estimate is 20. What is your estimate? There are 19 candy corn in the 1/4 measuring cup. Let's use what we learned to try another one. We know that there are 19 pieces of candy corn in 1/4 cup. That's pretty close to 20, so I'm going to think about it as 20 pieces. If there are 20 pieces in the cup, how many pieces of candy corn would be in the whole bag? Go ahead and make an estimate. As I was estimating, I thought about how many scoops I thought were in the whole bag. I think there are about 40 scoops in the bag. So I thought about it as 40 scoops of 20, or 40 times 20, which is about 800 pieces. Let's see how many pieces there are in the whole bag. There are about 893 candy corns in the bag. My estimate was pretty close. Think about what you know about volume, length, and mass. You've learned about each of these in previous grades. See what you can remember about them. Volume is also called capacity. Length can be described as width or length or height or distance. Mass is also referred to as weight. Volume is the amount a container can hold. Length is the measure of a distance. Mass, or weight, is how heavy an object is. We often measure volume with a measuring cup. If I had a box and I were thinking about volume, I might ask myself, how much can I fit into the box? If I were thinking about a car, I might ask myself, how many gallons of fuel can my car's fuel tank hold? That would be a measure of volume. Length is often measured with a ruler or a yardstick. If I had a box and I wanted to measure a length measurement, I might ask, how wide is the box? If I were thinking about a car, I might ask, how far can my car travel along a road? This would be a measure of length or distance. Mass is often measured with a balance scale or a scale that you step on. If I were thinking about the box, I would ask myself, how heavy is the box? If I were thinking about a car, I might ask myself, is my car heavier than a truck? These would be measures of mass or weight. In third grade, you might have learned about Gallon Man, or maybe you learned a story called The King of Gallon. Take a minute to look at the picture and think about that story and what the picture tells you. We can see from the picture that 4 quarts is equal to 1 gallon, that 2 pints is equal to 1 quart, and 2 cups is equal to 1 pint. Let's think about what we know to solve a problem. I want to bake a fruit cake twice as large as I normally make. The usual recipe calls for 2½ cups of flour and 1½ cups of fruit. How many cups of flour and fruit will I need to make my big cake? Remember that we are doubling the recipe to make a cake that is twice as large as the normal recipe. Write down what you know from the problem. We know that the regular recipe uses 2½ cups of flour and 1½ cups of fruit. Since we are doubling the recipe, we will need to double the flour and the fruit to make the larger cake. How might you solve the problem? Try it on your paper now. There are many different ways to solve this problem. Maybe you drew a picture of the flour and fruit needed for the original recipe. Here are 2 whole cups of flour and a ½ cup. This picture represents 1 cup of fruit and a ½ cup of fruit. The story tells us that we need to double the flour and the fruit. I can see when I do this that I have 4 whole cups of flour and a ½ and a ½, which make 1 other whole cup of flour, and that I have 2 whole cups of fruit and another ½ plus a ½ gives me 1 more. That means that I will need 8 whole cups. I can also show it as an equation. 2½ plus 2½ plus 1½ plus 1½. Again, I can add the whole numbers first, which gives me 6 cups, plus all the halves, which equal 2 cups. That gives me 8 cups. If I could, I might even use my measuring cups to solve this problem. I could measure out the cups of flour and the cups of fruit and see how much I needed. Let's solve another one. We are planning a party for 35 people and want each person to have a cup of chocolate milk. Milk is sold in 1-gallon jugs. How many jugs will we need to buy? How many cups of milk will be left over? Let's think about what we know from the problem. We know that we need 35 cups of chocolate milk for the party. We are trying to figure out how many gallons of milk that will be and how many cups will be left over. We know that 4 cups equal 1 quart and that 4 quarts equal 1 gallon. Use this information to solve the problem on your paper. You can use pictures or an equation or another representation. You might have used a picture to help you solve the problem. If we know that there are 4 quarts in a gallon and that each of those quarts has 4 cups, we can determine that there are 16 cups in 1 gallon of milk. We know that we have 35 people coming to the party, so we're going to need another gallon of milk, which will also equal 16 cups. That gives me 32 cups of milk, but I need a few more cups to make sure everyone at my party has a cup of milk. So I'm going to buy another gallon of milk, and I'm going to use 3 of those cups to get to the 35 cups that I need for my party. The leftover cups is what's left. So now I know that I'll need 3 gallons of milk and that there will be 13 cups left. I might also use an equation to solve the problem. Since there are 4 cups in 4 quarts in a gallon, I can use 4 times 4 to see that there are 16 cups in 1 gallon. I know that I'll need at least 2 gallons, which will get me 32 cups, and 1 more gallon will get me 48 cups. That means I need to buy 3 gallons of milk. To find the leftover cups of milk, I can use the 48 cups in the 3 gallons, subtract the 35 cups I'll use for the party, and see that there are 13 cups of milk left over. In America, we measure weight in pounds and ounces. A loaf of bread is about 1 pound. We abbreviate pounds with the letters LB. We measure the weight of people in pounds. A slice of bread is about 1 ounce. We measure lighter items with ounces. Bags of chips and cookies are measured in ounces. 1 pound is equivalent to 16 ounces. One pound is equivalent to 16 ounces. How many ounces would be equivalent to a half pound? Maybe you knew that since 16 ounces equals 1 pound, half of 16 is 8, so 8 ounces equal a half pound. Maybe you used the picture on the screen and split it in half and counted the ounces. 1/2 pound is 8 ounces. How many ounces are equivalent to 1/4 pound? Maybe you knew that 16 divided into 4 equal parts is 4. Or maybe you used the picture on the screen to divide it into 4 equal parts and counted how many ounces in each part. 1/4 pound is equivalent to 4 ounces. How many ounces would it take to equal 2 pounds? Since 2 pounds is double of 1 pound, I know that I could double the ounces in 1 pound to get the equivalent in 2 pounds. This means that there are 32 ounces in 2 pounds. Which bag of groceries weighs more than 1 pound? This bag of groceries weighs 18 ounces, which is more than 16 ounces or 1 pound. Calculate the difference in the weight of the 2 bags. There are several ways to solve this problem. Here's how I thought about it. First, I calculated how many ounces are in 3 pounds. Since I know that there are 16 ounces in 1 pound, 3 times 16 will tell me how many ounces are in 3 pounds. There are 48 ounces in 3 pounds. Now I can find the difference between 48 and 9. There are many ways to do this. I'm going to use a number line to count up. One bag weighs 9 ounces and the other weighs 48 ounces. I'm going to make a jump of 1 to get to 10. That's a friendly number. I know I can add 30 more and get to 40, and 8 more would give me 48. So where's my answer in this representation? The answer is the number of times that I jumped from 9 to 48. 1 plus 30 plus 8 is 39. The difference in the bags is 39 ounces. Now, calculate the difference in the weight of the boxes. You may use your pencil and paper. Two and 1/2 pounds is equivalent to 40 ounces. I calculated this by thinking about 16 ounces times 2 pounds to get 32, and then I added the ounces in a 1/2 pound, which is 8. To find the difference between 40 and 7, I am going to subtract. 40 ounces subtract 7 ounces equals 33 ounces. The difference in the weight of the two boxes is 33 ounces. In today's episode of Math Matters, we thought about how length, volume, and mass are different attributes of objects that we can measure with different tools. We also used equivalencies to answer problems involving mass and volume. How did you do today working towards our learning goals? Think about how you did. Give yourself a thumbs up if you feel like you got it, a thumb in the middle if you are still practicing, or a thumb down if you need help from a teacher or someone at home. In today's episode of Math Matters, we explored problems involving measurement of volume and mass. I'm Miss Ott. I hope you have a great day and keep on counting.